She read the book and believed the truth about Yahweh's marriage formulas and principles. So we cannot stop doing what we do just because others are not doing it with us anymore. And if you think leadership is the way to get to the heart of Yahweh, you are greatly deceived.
I know that's right.
Most of Israel's leaders weren't worth a corrupt wooden nickel.
Oh, yes.
In the history of the kingdom of Israel, Ephraim, there was one or two righteous kings. Not even, excuse me, not one.
They had no, exactly. Judah.
The house of Judah had a couple.
Exactly.
But in the history of the 10 tribes of Israel, they didn't have one righteous king who submitted to any righteous leaders or any righteous prophets.
That's right.
Now you're an Ephraimite coming back, and the first thing you discover when you come into the kingdom and you live the Nazarene Israelite lifestyle, you discover that people are not getting along, and it bothers you. Because you're a child. And you're easily shaken. Leaders never get along because the chiefs are vying for the Indians.
I got you. Wow, that's good.
They have their own hunger. They have their own thirst. It is for numbers, and it is to make disciples after themselves. It is not to point them to Yeshua and to point them to the Word. Have respect for righteous leaders, but don't just assume someone's a leader because they have a title. Exactly. So in this Congress, it's we the people. Yahweh is bringing these things to the forefront through the people. See, the people heard him gladly. I'll talk about that at the conference. The people had no problems with Yeshua. It was the leaders, the religious folk had a problem. The whores, the tax collectors, the people heard him gladly. They rejoiced at every word that came out of his mouth.
Exactly.
It was the religious people who said, if we don't stop this guy, we will lose our position to Rome, and we will lose everything that we have worked for, the control and manipulations of the masses. And Yeshua said, I hate the deeds of the Nicolaitans. A rabbi who will no longer talk to you because you wrote a book on sex is not a leader. Because he could agree with you on the two houses. He could agree with you on the true name. He could agree with you on post-tribulation rapture. He could agree with you on post-tribulation coming. He could agree with you on 100 things, but because there's one or two things that they disagree, that gives them the right to badmouth you, or they find out you're imperfect. Hey, when I meet somebody, I know right away that they're imperfect. So now we can deal on an equal footing. You're imperfect, I'm imperfect, let's dance.
That's true.
Let's get together. Let's be friends.
You need a forgiveness.
Thank you.
In other words, these leaders, that's why this Congress is not about leaders, it's about you and me, we the people.
Amen.
You know, we laugh historically at Juan Perón and Eva Perón, but Eva Perón of Argentina, she was tapped into something. It was about my comrades, the working people, we the people. When the leaders identify with the people, you have righteous leadership.
You're right.
When the leaders try to lord it over the people, you have the deeds of the Nicolaitans. And Yeshua says, I hate the deeds of the Nicolaitans because they are parallel to the ways of Bilam.
Exactly. Ooh, see that?
The deeds of the Nicolaits means victory over the laity. Nicole, control over the laity, meaning I'm the anointed, you're a piece of vermin, and everything I tell you to do, you have to do it. And you have to obey every word because you have to worship me as little deity who represents the big deity.
Hope.
And that's why Yahweh put me in a whole fellowship, to do it after the pattern. I was tired. I don't want to go to the conference this year and have everybody worship me and say, Moshe, Rabbi, I want to hang out in shorts, man. I want to drink orange juice and ginger ale. I want to give you a high, a low, and a medium 5 and hang with you. And rejoice around the Word. I'm tired of being worshipped.
Get ready.
I'm not going to get ready. And if anybody does, I'll slap them upside the head and pull out their ear.
I like that.
That was the old Moshe. I'm tired of that. You know, after serving Yahweh and having entire websites and ministries dedicated to your destruction, yes. You know, you get a little humbled after a while. You eat a little humble pie.
Yes, you do.
And Yeshua said, what you're doing now is not for this generation. It's to be faithful to the people who are faithful to you, and to B'nai Yeshua Synagogue of Broward, and to the generations who are yet unborn.
Amen.
who will study your literature and read your writings and read your books and hear your messages.
Amen.
Should Yeshua tarry. Okay, so back to verse 4. Not back to verse 5, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say.
He sent messengers by Midbar 22:5. He sent, and I'm not saying we shouldn't respect leadership. Yeah, we should respect their calling, but not as a deity. We should listen to everything they say as long as we're submitted to them.
Amen.
Always realizing that they minister to us through their imperfections, not because of their imperfections.
You gotta weed it out.
Yeah.
He sent messengers, therefore, to Bilam, verse 5, the son of Beor at Bethor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying, see, there is a people come out of Mitzrayim, they cover the face of the earth, they abide opposite me. So again, we see the multiplicity. In other words, why was Balak, the Melech, scared? Why was he frightened? Because of the physical what? Multiplicity, the numerical numbers of Israel. They were already multiplying, beginning to fill the nations. And they were fearful of that promise of physical multiplicity, according to Bereshit 48:19. Verse 6. Come now, therefore, I ask you, curse for me. Now look, he's asking Bilam, the son of Zippor. He's saying, come, curse for me this people, for they are too mighty for me. Perhaps I shall prevail, that we may smite them, that I may drive them out of the land. For I know that he whom you bless is blessed, and he whom you curse is cursed. So here was the king with a whole bunch of Midianite leaders coming to Bilam and asking for him to curse his own people. I said curse his own people. Not a different people, his own people.
Wow.
That's the way the enemy works. Verse 7. The Zechanim of Moab and the Zechanim, notice the elders, the leaders of Moab, the leaders of Midian, notice. Leaders will always get along when they have an agenda, when they have something in common to destroy somebody else. Leaders will always get along as long as their kingdoms don't collide. But as soon as their kingdoms collide and they want the same turf, or they want the same disciples, or they want the same radio ministry, or they want the same audience, they will kill each other and they will curse what Yahweh has blessed.
Amen.
Don't you even think about cursing any of Yahweh's people. When that wicked, crooked, unrighteous high priest hit Paul on the cheek, and he said, is that the way you speak about the leaders in Israel? And Rav Shaul said, please forgive me, sir, for I did not know he was the Kohen HaGadol. For it is written, you shall not speak evil or do evil against the leaders of your people. Now, how come Paul didn't know? Why didn't Paul know that the man who hit him, standing in front of him, was the Kohen HaGadol? Because he was blind. So those of you who struggle, who are challenged, for lack of a better term, a sight challenge, you're in good company. Yahweh can do great things through you.
Yeah.
Paul wrote the entire Brit Chadashah, and he needed someone else to dictate. He was a blind man. Don't look at me that righteous, I'm right.
Yep, he's right.
That's why he didn't know it was a high priest standing right in front of him.
Look at his writings.
I mean, because the chief high priest, you could tell by his attire.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And then his guy was big.
And the Zechanim and the leaders, they were all ready to curse Israel. They departed, and they didn't just depart, they had rewards. Hey, if you join me, I'll give you 10% of my book sales. Hey, if you join me, I'll give you your own program on the radio. They'll do and say anything to draw disciples after themselves. Are you with me?
Yes.
They'll do and say anything to draw this. And they left with the rewards of divination. Yahweh calls it witchcraft. When you try to buy someone's loyalty to be part of what Yahweh is doing, to be part of the blessing, you don't need rewards of divination. The reason you should be here every Shabbat, and the reason you should be here every time the doors open, is because we are blessed, we want to share our blessings, and we want to be a blessing. Amen. Can I hear a good amen?
Amen.
So they left with the rewards of divination. These are unrighteous bribes, trying to get Bilam to curse his own people, who Yahweh has blessed. And they came to Balaam, but in Hebrew Bilam, and spoke to him the words of Balak. So there are rewards for disobeying Yahweh. Let's not kid